Welcome to this webinar today. We're going to be looking at the advisory intro package, which will assist bookkeepers and accountants to commence advisory services. If you have any questions on any aspect of what's in ESS BIZTOOLS, can you please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, and I will get back to you. And we could have a Zoom meeting if you wish to do that. I'm now going to show you the contents of what's included in the advisory intro package. We'll start with section A, preparation for advisory. Discussion with your clients, and a great tool to use to do that is the SME needs analysis. This gives you a series of comments or ideas that you could discuss with your client, because a lot of your clients are only used to dealing with you, even though you're an accountant or an experienced bookkeeper, about matters to do with taxation or the preparation of an annual set of accounts. And as important as that information is, there's a lot more services that you can offer to assist your clients to survive and grow their businesses, to scale up if they wish. And that is what we are delivering, to assist you to really deliver advisory services to your clients. So the SME needs analysis is a document that was originally developed by Andrew Geddes, one of the joint founders of the Financial Management Research Centre that used to operate at the University of New England 40-odd years ago. And they were the standard bearer for this whole concept that accountants can do more work to assist SME clients to grow and thrive in their business activities. So the next step is that within the documentation, we have a client form. You've got client profile forms in your systems already for taxation, but I haven't come across any that covers advisory services. So we've developed one on advisory services, and it's going to prompt you to talk to clients about various issues. So if you insert that the client is a tradie, it's going to prompt you to say, well, would you like us to look how you calculate your charge outs? Because we have a charge out rate calculator. If the information being obtained from your client indicates that they are offering services to overseas residents, because in Australia they're running a reef trip type business or special accommodation for overseas tourists, and they are marketing and promoting their activities direct to those overseas residents, they could potentially be eligible to apply for the Export Market Development Grant. You will be viewed as being a very proactive bookkeeper or accountant if, when you're having this initial discussion with your client, you can be bringing to their attention these various matters that they could be interested in. We also have a library of articles. The advisory intro package has access to 330 separate articles within our library, relating to about 50 different subject headings. And we're going to have a look at some of those shortly. There's articles that you can then distribute to clients. You would badge them with your name and you can send them to your clients, because this is another way of adding to their knowledge about services that you can provide. Have you ever sat and had an interview with another professional person, not an accountant or a bookkeeper? whether it's a medical practitioner or lawyer or even a dentist. And you've heard them talk about various things, and you get back to your home or your office and you say, well, I want to write down exactly what he said to me. What percentage of the conversation do you think you write down? Probably not much over 40%. So what happened to the other 60%? The professional talked too fast, or you didn't quite catch it. Your mind was thinking about something he'd already said or she said. So what we envisage is that you can send the articles to substantiate your professional advice. Of course, if you want to sit down and edit one of our articles to contain a bit more information, you can do so. But in the main, it's to save you the time, which might take you an hour to sit down and write a 10-page article to send to your client, maybe more. And you are then able to confirm to your client what you were talking about. We also have a Business Plus. So this is all part of the preparation. And the Business Plus is our monthly newsletter, which we prepare each month and upload to our website on the second Friday of a month. And we send an email and a short video to our subscribers and say, we've uploaded the newsletter. The next one, obviously, is April. And these are the key things that we've covered. Normally, there's 4 to 6 key articles in the newsletter. And we try to have a variety of clients in mind. Someone that's thinking about going into business. Someone that's been in business for 6 months. Someone that's been in business for 2 or 3 years. And others that might be thinking about selling their business. Others that might be thinking about, well, we need more capital, but we've got no assets we can offer as security. What could we do? And obviously that could be they might be interested in trying to raise capital. So we've got some articles on crowdsourced funding, equity raising capital as under Section 708 of the Corporations Act. Or for a young company, early stage innovation company, status can be very beneficial because there's a carrot there for investors. They get some taxation benefits. Yeah, they get benefits from the Australian Taxation Office if they invest in your client's company. And unfortunately, a lot of advisors don't seem to know much about the early stage innovation company. It was designed for small SMEs. They have to be under 3 years of age, although there is an exemption that they can be up to 6 years of age. That's the company. Their turnover basically has to be under $200,000 in the previous 12 months. And their expenditure has to be under $1 million in the previous 12 months. In some cases, it could even be over a 3-year period. So they're small, they're startups. They've been involved in innovative activities normally, undertaking research and development. And these people are really on an innovative journey. And you can help them. Because along the way, they're going to need business plans, predictive accounting reports, budgets, cash flow forecasts, projected balance sheets. They're going to need to understand how you go about raising capital. Because in my experience, and I've acted for a lot of these people through my consultancy business, most of them haven't got any money. They've spent it all on developing their invention. They've been down a few dry gullies in that respect, because not everything works out, does it, when you undertake research and development? But they can grow into great businesses. And they can be exciting and interesting work. Some of them will fall over, unfortunately, but some will be very successful. Do you want to go down that journey? So we try to put together articles in Business Plus that when you send them out to your clients, you can identify which client you really think that article's of interest to and give them a ring 3 or 4 days later. Say, hey, did you see that letter, that article that we had in our Business Plus about you being able to raise capital? Can you visualize yourself there as an early stage innovation company? Do you want to know more? There's a whole process. We have to sit down and talk about it and work out how we would do that. That's the idea of Business Plus. Understanding your clients from an advisory viewpoint. This is one of the big challenges that I think accountants and bookkeepers have got in providing effective advisory services. Please sit down and think about how much you really know about your client. Have you been to their business premises? Because over the years, I've found plenty of accountants who I've been working with or consulting with, and I've said, come on, we'll go out and visit the client, and they don't know where the client's operations are. And I say to them on the way, haven't you ever been there? And they say, no. And I ask myself, how does that accountant or bookkeeper know much about the business if they've never been there? Because they are all different. One steel fabricator is not the same as the next steel fabricator. So by going there, you get an idea of what's going on in the business. So if you're going to start offering advisory services, I think the first challenge is knowing your client 1 inch wide but a mile deep. You need to understand how it all clicks together. You need to understand where there's some suspect internal control areas. You need to understand how the purchasing and selling command cycle works in that business. Who's responsible for what? Who's the person that's going to be able to produce the daily information that's so important for most of our SME clients, but most of them don't get it. And the weekly performance report, which I think is vital because it gives them real-time feedback. This is how we went last week, and it's Tuesday morning of the following week that we're telling them, that the system's telling them, that you're telling them. I think it's a great way to do it. It's the way the big end of town works. If you've read some of my other articles of late, I think on my own experience as a former chief financial officer in a listed public company, basically the whole company was geared back down to be a series of small businesses owned by about 8 or maybe 10 individuals. They were the area managers. And they had an accountant working for them. And they had other clerical staff. And under them, they had various businesses. We were in the meat industry, so some of those businesses were very big meatworks who were producing products primarily for sale in overseas countries. But we had retail butcher shops, we had small goods factories, we had cold stores all over the place. And each one of them was treated as an individual business activity. So we had a budget for each of them. We had monthly financial accounts for each of them, and we had weekly performance and profitability reports for each of them. So there was real-time feedback. That's the challenge in offering advisory services, to give that sort of feedback back to your clients. I've got there the due diligence review is really sitting down. It might only take a couple of hours. Some other clients might take a bit longer. But put on a chart, understand where the weaknesses are, understand where the information's flowing from, to see what changes you can recommend to your client. In the system, we've got proposal and quotation forms, of course. And the next big document for your client is the business plan. Business plans are vital. They're the map to run their business. They're the same as a map for tourists. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to know if you get there? And it can give feedback. We thought we'd be at this position. This is the position we're in. Then we move into predictive accounting reports. Now, in the subject we're talking about today, advisory intro, we're not including the full predictive accounting report package, because that includes the Plan Guru software. But if you want the Plan Guru software, you want the full package, you can upgrade to our larger product to get that. But what we're setting up is the scene right from the start, that there should be budgets prepared, and we're giving you all the details. So if you want to use Excel spreadsheets to do your budgets on, you can do so, but we would recommend that you look at Plan Guru, and we have negotiated an arrangement with Plan Guru. You can subscribe separately and you'll be able to use it for up to 10 clients at any one time without paying any extra fees. That's a great concession we negotiated with Plan Guru, because normally they only allow 3 businesses to be on your predictive accounting software at any one time, unless you pay an additional fee each month. Within predictive accounting reports, we've got budgets for each business operation, and then we look at the key drivers. The key drivers are vital for getting the budgets and the cash flow forecast right. We're looking at things like the team members, the salaries, the fringe benefits, the productivity is very important in a lot of industries. The raw material inventory requirements, completed stock, debtors, creditors, and making sure that there's been meaningful thought put in to what the debtors' days outstanding might be, or the creditors' days outstanding. I've checked a few budgets and cash flows over the years, especially when I had a consulting role with Oz Industry for the COMET program, Commercialising Emerging Technology. We weren't allowed to do the work. We had to supervise work done by other people, some of whom were accountants, others were professional advisors of various categories. And I was quite surprised a few times, because I looked at the most recent financial accounts of the client, and I noted that debtors' days outstanding was up around 70 days. Yet when I checked the budget that had been presented and the cash flow forecast, I could see that it was a lot less than 70 days that had been included. So I asked the consultant, what's the debtors' days outstanding? And he looked at me rather blankly. And I said, well, I've looked at the balance sheet for the accounts that finished 6 weeks ago, and my calculation is it's 70 days. Yet I think you're working on 30 days in this budget. Do you really think that's going to happen? That just because you're prepared a budget, that suddenly debtors' days outstanding is going to get reduced from 70 to 30 days? That's not on. We all know that. We say to clients we will help them reduce debtors' days outstanding, but I think all of you would be wanting a fairly long period to go from 70 days to 30 days. So that's one of the key bits of information that comes out of the key drivers. And in the Plan Guru software system, key drivers are vital inputs. And you can see some of the items we got there. That then flows through to the cash flow forecast, which is picking up information from the budgets, from the key drivers, and is related to the balance sheets, because there might be a debt situation in the balance sheet, or a loan from a bank or someone that the monthly repayments have to go through. And then we got the projected balance sheets. Now, I like projected balance sheets because I really believe you can now become the storyteller. You can sit down and prepare the budgets and cash flows and projected balance sheets for 3 years' time, and then sit down and say to your client, now, let's sit down and look at what all this means. If you're able to perform according to these budgets, and you can keep your debtors' days outstanding at 41 days, and you can pay your creditors on 37 days, or whatever else the assumptions have been made, and you pay your tax as it's due, of course, this is what your balance sheet's going to look like in 3 years' time. And what it's doing is enabling your client to get this satisfactory feeling, hopefully, or maybe a dismal feeling, but at least you are telling them this is where it's all going to end up. Because a lot of them don't know where it's all going to end up. They may have made a decision to raise capital from the market. They may have made all sorts of decisions. What's it all mean? In section D, we got the business systems, and we will be implementing right from the start in advisory intro the concept of the 52-week business enhancement system. And I've referred to most of that already. There's daily information. There's weekly information, primarily around the weekly performance and profitability reports. And there's the monthly financials. I think that's vital for businesses. I think one of the real reasons we've got such a high failure rate is that too many of our SMEs are only receiving an annual set of accounts and an income tax return. that does not help them run their business. It's far too late. They're not getting the daily, weekly, monthly prompts that they need, because they're the defence on, if you look at it in football terms, to make sure that the ball stays at the other end, make sure that they're able to continue to grow and advance their businesses. But if you leave it go for a year, all sorts of problems can occur. We also look at cash control, and that's primarily looking at things like debtors. The financial accounts I've referred to, and what flows from there. And then we can look at some of the other things. You'll be undertaking a virtual CFO role, which we're supplying you the material to assist. So you'd be looking at some of the funding requirements that might be required in the business. There are government grants, there's a lot of them, yet a lot of SMEs are not aware of them. And I think as a bookkeeper or accountant, it's part of our role to make sure we keep them informed. And then we're bringing into the summary here some of the specific tools that really go into advisory work. The tradie charge out rate calculator, which enables you to look at the productivity that's expected out of the various team members, the wages being paid to them, of course, and any other penalties, the special leave they're getting, any special arrangements for superannuation is all factored into the charge out rates, so that your client can see that what profit they should be able to earn for the year if they can keep that workforce engaged. And then each month, our recommendation is that you'd be preparing monthly accounts together with the key performance indicators to verify whether the productivity percentages that were used in those budgets have been reflected in the actual accounts. If not, there's a problem with the charge out rates. Government grants I've mentioned before. In particular, I want to highlight research and development. We give you an intro to research and development in the I should have gone back onto the shares, my apologies, into the in the system. The research and development is there because your client might be doing research and development, and they need to be aware of what's required. They have to be a company. They have to spend more than $20,000 on legitimate research and development activities in the financial year. They have to keep records. They have to identify what they're going to try to achieve. They have to check if there's any prior art. They have to understand what all these terms mean. We've covered all that in our material. You'll have the introductory material which you can make available to them. If the client then decides, yes, that's what they want to do, well, perhaps you should then decide whether you're able to offer those services or whether you want to offer those services. If you do, we'll be quite happy to supply you an upgrade to your subscription, so you've got the full package of material relating to research and development. Or I think you should then be making sure that you've referred the client on to someone else that can handle those services for them. If you can't find someone, we'll be happy to have a look at it, so just contact us. Export Market Development Grant, I've mentioned that before. I was talking about the Australian-based business supplying services to overseas residents, because a lot of people don't know about that or forget about it. But there's also a whole range of Australian exporters, mainly SMEs, because this is only available for companies, for businesses under $20 million. So let me clarify that. You don't have to be a company to claim. You can if you want to, if you are, but you don't have to be. You can be a sole trader, a partnership, a trust, and a company claiming the Export Market Development Grant. Capital raising is a big issue. So we've included some material in the system so that you can at least have some preliminary discussions with your client as to how Section 708 of the Corporations Act works, how the early stage innovation company works, and how crowdsourced funding equity raising works. so that you're seen as the trusted advisor to them. You're giving them some input onto those activities. Some of the other things we've got full material for are buying a business and the working capital area, which primarily relates to debtors control, where we've got a debtors systems manual. It's included in the system. In corporate governance, we also have some preliminary material on directors' duties and responsibilities and committee members' duties and responsibilities. And then we have some material on banks and Australian Security and Investment Commission. So that's a brief overview of what is incorporated within the advisory intro package. Now, I'm just going to switch the so now we have the advisory intro package library on the screen that you can see. We have about 50 different category headings, and there's 330 papers. So we have beginning in business, and there's quite a number of papers there which enable you to communicate with your clients. We do have some bookkeeping systems. Most of them are prepared on the, let me call it, the traditional way of maintaining bookkeeping records, but we've kept them there because there's people still using those systems. But it also has we have an article on chart of accounts and good bookkeeping habits help. We talk about business entities. Give your client a summary of what is, what's involved with a sole trade or a partnership, a discretionary trust, unit trusts, companies, various types of companies, and the early stage innovation company. So you've got access to all that, so you can immediately make those articles available to a client. You can charge for them if you wish. That's your decision. You don't owe ESS BIZTOOLS any more money. Then we look at business systems. Why keep records? Business records, systems required to obtain a tax deduction for a motor vehicle, expenses, and so on. Accounting reports and terminologies. This is very important because we talk a language, don't we? Accountants and bookkeepers that a lot of people don't understand. So we've tried to give some interpretation of what that means. That's mainly contained in accounting terminologies, that paper there, which goes through probably well over 100 terminologies with brief descriptions. But then there's plenty of other things in there that give you a paper. So if you're talking to a client about preparing regular accounts and how you're going to compare budgets to actuals, you can give them a paper to let them sit at home and read it, and maybe discuss it with their spouse or family so that they have a better understanding. Because after all, they're going to pay the bills. So I think we need to inform them what they're getting. Operating a successful business. This is a very important one. And the one paper that I would suggest that you basically make available to most clients is Characteristics of a Well-Run Business. It's a paper that we think really covers this whole concept of advisory services. There's a paper on media. How do you deal with the media? Then we've got marketing, business planning, family businesses. There is some material on taxation. We always say ESS BIZTOOLS doesn't have much on taxation, but there are some things there because it's directly targeted at the SME client. Corporate governance is very important, and we've got some material there. And later on in the full system of library, which is about 580 papers, there's material on board of advice and more information on directors' duties and responsibilities. Selling a business, cost control, improving the bottom line, and so it goes on. hopefully that's given you a better overview of what's contained within the advisory intro package. We have a special promotion on, which is running through to the 7th of May. You can subscribe to for the advisory intro package for 12 months for $900 plus GST. So $990 gives you 12 months access to that package that I've overviewed for you today. We give you a password, you log onto the site, and you're able to get access to it. We have produced some other videos over the last 3 weeks on showing you the website itself working for advisory intro. If you can't find it, you've got one of those sent to you and you'd like it, please contact us, peter@essbiztools.com.au. If you're interested in our other packages, the costs of which have been detailed in those earlier emails and are on our website, www.essbiztools.com.au. Please have a look at them. The packages which I believe are primarily targeted at bookkeepers and accountancy firms commencing advisory services is this one, advisory intro package, and the business advisory services starter package. We do have bookkeeping firms who are also subscribed to the advanced and the financial forecasting packages, and obviously accountancy firms. That's up to you, and it really gets back to your clientele and what the clientele is looking for. And both of those bookkeeping firms that are subscribing to the financial forecasting package had a real need to have a very good software package which would produce predictive accounting reports, budgets, cash flow forecasts, the key drivers, and the projected balance sheets. So thank you very much for viewing this overview of the advisory intro services. Don't forget, if you do require further information, please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, or make a telephone call, 0747 24 111 will get me. Thank you. Have a great day. Goodbye.